So, if you've ever used an AI coding assistant, you know that first moment of magic. It feels, well, incredible, right? But then what happens when you try to build something real? Suddenly, that magic just evaporates. Today, we're going to move way beyond just writing basic prompts. We're diving into a structured approach called context engineering that can get you truly production ready code.
Does this sound familiar to you? I mean, who hasn't been there? You start a chat with an AI, you ask it to build something, it gets it wrong, you correct it, then it gets something else wrong, and before you know it, you've maxed out the context window, the whole thing just falls apart, and you're left frustrated. It's a super common and honestly a terrible experience for developers. There's actually a name for this whole mess: vibe coding. It's that messy, unstructured back and forth where you're just trying to guide the AI with your vibes. And look, it's great for whipping up a quick prototype, but when you need solid, reliable code, this is exactly where that initial AI magic totally breaks down. And this isn't just a hunch or a feeling we all have. A Stanford study looked at 100,000 developers and confirmed it. AI-generated code often leads to a ton of rework. It completely fails on complex tasks, especially in legacy code bases. And get this, it can even make developers slower. So yeah, clearly, vibe coding is not the answer. We need a better way. So what's the fix? Is it a fancier AI model? Nope. The answer is a smarter approach. The big idea that unlocks the AI's real power is a huge shift in our thinking, away from just writing prompts and towards deliberately engineering the context we give it. Now, this sentence seems so simple, right? But it is unbelievably powerful. The quality of an AI's output is a direct reflection of the quality of its input. The only thing you can really, truly control to get better results is the information you put into that context window. That context, well, it's everything. So let's put it side by side. The naive way, vibe coding, is basically just shouting at the AI and getting sloppy code in return. The advanced way, that's all about intentional context management. It means keeping the context clean and hyper-focused so you can get production-quality code even when you're working on the gnarliest, most complex tasks. Okay, so how do we actually do this? It's not about vibes or some secret magic prompt. It's a disciplined, three-phase workflow, and it's designed from the ground up to manage context. Let's break down how this builds a perfect foundation for the AI to do its best work. But before we even get into the workflow, there's one golden rule you have to remember. When an AI's context window gets stuffed with noise and a messy chat history, its ability to think straight just plummets. So the key is to keep it lean. The absolute non-negotiable rule of thumb: always, always keep that context utilization below 40%. The workflow itself is actually beautifully simple. It's made up of just three distinct phases. First, you research. Then, you plan. And only after all that do you finally implement. By splitting things up like this, you make sure the AI has a perfect, clean context at every single critical stage of the process. Phase one is all about research. And listen, you're not writing any code here. You're creating a map. Think of yourself as a detective. You use the AI as your partner to explore the system, trace how data flows, and pinpoint every single relevant file. The final output is a crystal clear research document that gives both you and the AI a perfect lay of the land. Next up is the plan. You take that research document, feed it into a totally fresh context, and ask the AI to generate a super detailed step-by-step implementation plan. This thing has everything: which files to change, what code snippets to use, and exactly how to verify each step. And here's the absolute genius of this step. A 200-line plan is a million times easier for a human to review and fix than a 2,000-line pull request. And finally, we implement. You give the AI that validated plan in another fresh context and just tell it to execute, one step at a time. As it finishes a task, you update the plan, you clear the context, and you move to the next step. This is what we call intentional compaction, and it ensures the AI is always working with a clean slate and a super clear goal. All right, this all sounds great in theory, but does this whole structured workflow actually deliver in the real world? Well, the results are kind of staggering. Let's look at a few examples. First, let's talk about a beast of a project. A developer used this exact workflow to fix a bug in a massive Rust codebase. I'm talking 300,000 lines of code. The AI-generated pull request was so clean that the project CTO merged it without even realizing an AI wrote it. Think about that. A one-shot fix in a huge, complicated project.
Okay, fine. What about scale and speed? Well, there was this task that was estimated to take a senior engineer 1 to 2 weeks, adding WASM support to a programming language. Using this method, it was done in just 7 hours. The result? 35,000 lines of production-ready code shipped. So, what does this mean for your day-to-day productivity? Well, the developer who pioneered this workflow, he hasn't had to open a non-markdown file in his code editor for nearly 2 months. Instead, he's just focused on planning and, get this, shipping 6 separate production-ready pull requests in a single day. That's the power of this system. So yeah, the individual productivity gains are obviously insane. But the biggest takeaway here isn't about one developer becoming a superhero. It's about a fundamental transformation in how entire teams can work together. This quote right here just nails it. A simple bug in your code, easy to fix, but an error in your plan that can lead to hundreds of lines of bad code, and an error in your initial research, just a simple misunderstanding of how the system works, that can lead to thousands of lines of completely wasted effort. So this creates a really clear hierarchy of impact. All your power, all your leverage is at the top of this pyramid. Getting the research right is everything. It prevents those catastrophic errors down the line. Validating the plan is the next most critical step. The actual act of writing the code, once you have a solid plan, is where you have the least relative impact on the final outcome. And so, at the end of the day, the real competitive advantage in this age of AI, it isn't having access to a better model or knowing some secret prompts. It's all about transforming your team's workflow. It's about better communication and better alignment through these shared research docs and implementation plans that everyone can actually understand and validate. Which brings us to the final and the most important question you should take away from all this. It's not about whether your tech stack is ready for AI, it's about whether your people and your processes are. Is your team's workflow actually structured to get the most out of these incredible new tools, or are you all still just vibe coding and hoping for the best?